Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
Folks, welcome to tonight's council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have you here. Great opportunity for you to engage the council on any topic that you think is important to our town. Just two requests. Introduce yourself to the people of our town, and then if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would appreciate that. Anybody interested? Well, thank you. We're certainly still pleased to have you here. We really appreciate it. We'll now move on to item number 7.
Item 6.
We'll go to 7, please.
7, okay. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving a grant of pipeline easement.
Thank you. Diane, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm appearing here tonight on behalf of Public Works. With me is Dustin Hanson, Superintendent of the Sioux Falls Regional Sanitary Landfill, and also Mark Cotter, Director of Public Works. The reason we're here is concerning Dakota Access Pipeline's request for a 25-foot easement. Excuse me. Oh, I thought, are we doing the pipeline easement first or the electric?
Electric
Oh,
transmission
I
first.
thought you skipped ahead. I heard Denise say pipeline. I'm sorry.
My apologies.
Okay, no problem. This item involves a 50-foot wide electric transmission easement to XL Energy within the city of Sioux Falls. The area involved is a
8.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving a grant of pipeline easement.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I need to recuse myself.
Thank you, Councilor Erickson. Councilor Erickson is going to recuse herself on this item. Diane.
Thank you. I have introduced the key city people from Public Works that are involved in review of this matter. I would also advise you that Dakota Access Pipeline does have 2 representatives here, Joey Mahmood and Mike, also with Dakota Access Pipeline. As you're aware, federal and state agencies have comprehensive authority over the routing and the safety and the inspection of oil pipelines. This is a crude oil pipeline that takes oil from the Bakken Formation through to Illinois, and state and federal regulatory authorities have comprehensive inspection and safety criteria. Due to those laws, the city cannot require a different route or veto the project. That's basic federal and state law. The state PUC has authority to approve the route. Federal safety inspection criteria is in federal law. So the city's role actually in this whole matter then is twofold. First, we have the right to go to the PUC and participate in the routing process, the hearings that were held by the PUC last fall. We did participate. We had the right to present evidence for or against the pipeline. We went to the PUC hearings and we advised the PUC that we would not object so long as the PUC adopted conditions that protected the natural features and the installed fixtures at the city's landfill. Dakota Access agreed to those conditions. The permit was issued by the PUC and it included those conditions. Those conditions included matters such as Dakota Access and installing the pipeline along the edge of the city's landfill cannot obstruct workers and customers at the landfill. They must reimburse us for any damage. The pipeline must be at least 4 feet below the surface. It provided for an additional 2-foot distance where it crosses with our city's landfill gas pipeline. Those are examples of the kinds of conditions. So we went to the PUC, we participated, the PUC granted the permit. Then the issue tonight, the sole issue tonight, is whether to grant Dakota Access Pipeline an easement for 25 feet of the city's property. It's 25 feet because it straddles the boundary with another property owner. Normally, these easements are 50 feet easements. As stated, it would run along the west boundary of the landfill, which, as you know, is about 5 miles west of the city. The route is a route that we talked to Dakota Access about over a year ago. They approached us for an easement. We talked to them about the pipeline route. They actually agreed to a minor deviation and filed that with the PUC, and that's incorporated in the PUC's proceeding. So they agreed to a minor change in the route to accommodate our interests. The area involved would be outside the working area of the landfill where, where solid waste is handled. As part of the permanent easement, Dakota Access Pipeline and its successors in interest, if there are any, if it ever sells its interest, are obligated, as long as the pipeline remains in place, to maintain $10 million in pollution insurance with the city as an additional named insured. They are also obligated to indemnify the city if the city should be sued for any reason by any third parties for the acts of Dakota Access. They would also be required upon issuance of the permanent easement to pay the city of Sioux Falls $24,638 for the easement. And that easement, as I indicated, was a 25-foot strip, so we're looking at a little over half an acre of land. I just want to go real quick to some materials that were requested at the first reading in this matter, and that is right there. The council did request a map showing the oil and gas pipelines in Sioux Falls. Those are the major companies that we were able to identify from state and federal databases. And I would point out to you on the lower left-hand side, you'll see a brown line that extends from the landfill down to the bottom of the map. That's the city's own landfill gas pipeline. Dakota Access Pipeline, of course, is the black and red one that goes also along the west side of the landfill. And then the other ones are the commercial lines that are within the city. And then also, you asked for a list of reported spills. There are a couple of databases. One is the federal database. Another one is the South Dakota DENR database. We use the DENR database because it is more specific to Sioux Falls. The federal database publishes information only for the state as a whole. As you can see, there have been spills over the years. Williams Pipeline Company has been involved in that. Williams is now Magellan. And then I thought, you know, in the interest of making sure it's clear to all what is going on in the area or what has happened in the area, that I did include one larger leak that occurred outside the city boundaries, and that is more in the Renner area. It occurred in 1992, or it was discovered in 1992, and there was a hairline fracture along a weld in a pipe that had been installed in 1946, and that was also a Williams Magellan pipeline. I just didn't want to not disclose that because it's a significant, or of more significance in the area. and that's still being monitored. Sensors and remote equipment were installed at the time after the spill. And I would point out that in this case, the Dakota Access pipeline, being a modern pipeline and with the new safety criteria in place, will of course have those things in place when it's installed. So I do want to ask Mark Cutter to come forward. He had a couple of additional items.
Thank you, Diane. I just wanted to represent, there's been a number of meetings with Public Works and City Attorney's Office with Dakota Access Pipeline. They've been very professional, very responsive to our requests, and we are here to support this easement. We would ask you for your support.
Mark, thank you. Diane, thank you as well. Folks, again, a second reading, so you have the opportunity to speak to this item. Is anybody interested in doing that? Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. My name's Peggy Hogestrat. I'm a landowner in Minnehaha County.
Pull them right down to
Right
you.
here. Okay,
How's that?
great. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight. Mr. Jameson, one of the questions you had asked for was this map, and I appreciate showing where some of these lines were. They were also discussed at the PUC hearings, and I'm not sure if it includes all of the same ones or not, but I do have that information as far as the history as well. One of the comments made a week ago, as Mr. Anderson was sharing some of the conversation he had with Mr. Hansen, was that Dakota Access has been less than truthful at some points. And a statement I'd like to make in regards to that is falsehood often contains enough truth to mislead those who lack discernment. So I would just ask that you would make sure discernment is a part of your decisions in the easement. How have South Dakota citizens been treated? I have a whole list, which in 5 minutes I really can't share with you. But personally, I was sued twice before the PUC even made their decision in the Dakota Access Pipeline permit. And its negotiations with the pipeline company have been very difficult for the remaining landowners that have had easement agreements to come to with the pipeline company. It's been quite a struggle and very expensive. Ms. Erpenbach, when you asked about the number of landowner easements that there are, from day one, that's been a very hard question to answer. Dakota Access has provided percentages, but they've never presented a list of the landowners included in those percentages. So we've never had any proof. And I don't know that the PUC even has that list yet themselves. There's no proof this oil will be beneficial to South Dakota, and with the federal ban that's been lifted on exports, I personally feel South Dakota is just going to be a path for the oil to go to other countries. We have 5 minutes here to share things with you. Many landowners had 5 minutes to share testimony at the PUC hearing. That's very unfortunate for our state. Dakota Access has not been good to South Dakota citizens. They haven't been good to our state. And there's just a lot of concerns. I just ask that you be sure to have done your research before you make your final decision on the second reading and have a clear conscience in your decision in regards to not only the easement agreement, but also as the construction proceeds, because there's things that you need to really be aware of and protect yourself with. I myself had changes done to the basic agreement because it was very, how would you say, beneficial for the pipeline company, but not good for the landowner. So I just ask that you consider everything involved for the people you represent, and I just ask that you protect the people that rely on you to protect them in their everyday lives. Thanks for your time.
Peggy, thank you as well. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Well, thank you, Peggy. We appreciate that. Council, it's in your hands. Councilor Bach.
Thank you. Diane, could you, because this is going along the property line, we're only getting 25 feet of a 50-foot easement, correct?
Right, and then I should probably amplify on that a little bit. The permanent easement would be the 25 feet, and then they have also asked for additional working area for the
Construction area?
for the construction, right, the temporary.
And remind me how long the 25 feet is? It's 25 feet wide, but how long is it?
Oh, you have to look at it. 730 feet.
730 feet by
Thank you.
25 feet wide. Thank you, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the help from the back. Then my question, Diane, is if we're getting the 25 feet on our side of the line, basically, the 25 feet that's on the other side of the property line, then has that easement been granted already, do you know?
I asked Dakota Access when they came in this evening, and they advised me that they had secured that easement.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilor, thank you. Yeah, Councilor Staggers.
Yes, maybe somebody from the pipeline company could tell us if you've used eminent domain so far.
Sure, and thank you. My name is Joey Mahmood. I'm with Energy Transfer. I'm our Senior Vice President over the project, and so all the project has been being executed on my direction. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council members, for having us here. For eminent domain, we have filed certain eminent domain cases. That is true. We have resolved almost all of them at this point. We have signed executed easements on 92% of the route, actually 92.7%, and we are at 99% with agreements in principle waiting for either checks to be delivered or people to come in and sign. So we're down to about 1%. That's 7 tracks, 6 landowners.
Six landowners?
Yes, sir. And it's about a little bit over 500 tracks. I don't have the exact number in my head, so we're down to 7 tracks, 6 landowners.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet.
Councilor Staggers, thank you. Councilor Jameson, sir.
Question for Diane. I see her, there she is. I didn't see her behind you there. So Diane, the conditions that you had included at the PUC meeting, the $10 million insurance, the 4 feet underground, no obstructions, and the indemnification, in the money, are those all kind of in line with what all the other landowners have received, or is that over, or is there any extras there for us that are maybe above and beyond?
The 10 mil, most of those conditions that you just listed are ones that the PUC required. Like the 4 feet is what Dakota Access came in to start with and said they would go ahead and go with a 4-foot depth. And that is a greater depth than actually what the federal government requires. So more, or more safe, if you want to put it that way. The $10 million is a negotiated insurance amount that we negotiated for our easement. So that is specific to Sioux Falls. And I do not know about the insurance terms for other landowners, but would say this. In addition to the $10 million, we have a clause in our easement requiring Dakota Access Pipeline to hold us harmless from all damages to our land. And the PUC also has a hold harmless clause in its conditions. So I guess there's kind of belt and suspenders here, but there is a PUC clause that is designed to protect all landowners against damage to their property. There's a hold harmless type clause there.
The only issue I would sense that I've kind of had about this is that the damage it could do to our landfill, and the landfill is tremendously expensive to create, and if it were to become flooded or some, catastrophe like that, is 10 million enough? Having it next to an item like this, a utility like this for our city versus just out in a field somewhere?
Right. It is away from the working area of the landfill, sufficient that when we looked at it with our engineers, we determined that our digging and excavation activities at the landfill would not impinge on the pipeline, and that leaks from the pipeline were unlikely, or the construction in the pipeline was unlikely to impinge on the working part of the landfill. Now, one thing about the landfill is that the Department of Environment and Natural Resources requires, as part of our landfill permit, that we actually have a monitoring well at various sites around the landfill to determine whether the leachate liquid from the landfill is migrating outward from the landfill into other areas or into the groundwater. And that water well is in one of those groundwater monitoring wells, not production well, but monitoring wells, is on the northwest side of the landfill. And that's kind of marked with a blue dot up there, and the pipeline will go right by it. So if there are leaks in that area and we see petroleum in our well, we know we have a problem fairly early on.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to point out the inner yellow line on the landfill is actually our permit boundary. That's where we can go with waste, and that's approximately 300 feet from our property boundary to the west. We're approximately 300 feet from their pipeline.
And sir, could you introduce yourself to the people of our town?
Dustin Hanson, landfill superintendent.
Thank you, Dustin.
Sorry, Dustin, I didn't mean to shut you out. But anyway, yeah, so we do have a monitoring well there that is close to where the pipeline would be actually entering our property. And so we think that provides us some reassurance. And the permanent easement also provides that if Dakota Access were to have a leak that caused petroleum to impact the working of our well, they would have to reimburse us for repair or replacement of the well as well.
Councilor Jameson.
If I could, just as a matter of structure, because I'm curious about these kinds of things, when we made these conditions agreed to with the PUC, was it then, if the PUC agreed to approve the pipeline, do we really have any grounds here to vote against this? Seems like it's an automatic if we've already agreed to those conditions with the PUC, and if they agreed to then pass it. I'm just structurally trying to understand this.
Right. Well, the PUC did agree to those conditions. They ordered those conditions. They are conditions on the permit. If the city of Sioux Falls were to decline to grant an easement, then Dakota Access Pipeline there is very little choice. Dakota Access Pipeline would either maybe have to consider a slight reroute and secure more easement area from the neighbor. I don't know if the PUC would have to go back and to hearings on that or not. Another thing that they could do is, as they have done to other property owners, is proceed to court with the condemnation. It's obviously not the most desirable thing for the city of Sioux Falls. Or if there are other additional conditions that the city council thinks are appropriate, they would be things that Dakota Access would have to consider whether to accept those as part of the easement negotiations. But at the present time, I think we worked hard on developing some good indemnity language, some good insurance language, environmental protections, and frankly, I think we're there.
Okay. Councilor Rolfing.
Thank you.
Joey, I've gotten a number of phone calls and some emails this week and last week about this pipeline, indicating that, and we've been told, and I'm sure rightfully so, that you've just been very good to work with from the city standpoint. However, I've got some comments and calls from constituents. Well, I really can't even say constituents. They're people outside that are along the pipeline who indicate that they've felt they've been kind of strong-armed a little bit, if you will. Can you tell us what your procedure is when you start talking to people about the right-of-way, doing that kind of thing, and just exactly what you're paying people for this?
So I can answer most of that. I think the payment terms are mostly confidential with individuals. I would hate to violate their confidentiality.
Okay.
I don't know that that's an appropriate thing to talk about in a public forum.
Well, I meant in a general sense, not individuals.
In a general sense, we're paying market value, in some instances more. Our easement negotiations on how we actually come up with that is we do market studies. Once the market study is concluded, we actually do individual land appraisals, meaning we send, just like you would for an appraisal of a home, we do an appraisal for the property that determines the market value. Once that market value is determined, we bring that to the landowner. We offer them the fair market value of the easement. And I'll tell you, the market value that we offer is the full value of the easement. So how an easement works, if nobody has an easement on their property, an easement, the landowner retains the ownership of the property. They use it for most everything that they would have except for permanent structures on that easement. So they're getting paid for the fair market value of that. They retain the ownership and plus the any value for temporary easement of that easement value or acreage that we would utilize to construct the pipeline. So at a minimum, it's fair market value, and that varies based on county and location. Obviously, land's more valuable or has a higher market value in the Sioux Falls area than it does in the northern parts in the middle of ag country. And then ag country also has a sliding scale of valuation depending on where it is and the quality of the land, et cetera. So, but we do go through a very detailed evaluation, and we provide all that information to the landowners. When we do the routing, so the evaluation and the notifications to the landowners, it actually begins at the very beginning of the project. Once we do the routing study, we call it macro routing. Then when we get to the level of what we call micro routing, that's when we notify all the landowners. So we're required, actually, under the state law for the PUC, we have to notify all the landowners on the tax roll. So when we go out, that's how we generate our list. We go to the counties, we get the landowners' names from the tax rolls, and we either call them initially, then we send out letters soliciting access to survey. That's the first communication. From there, once we've identified the route will actually reside on that piece of property. Even this is a year and a half before where we are today, by the way, actually almost 2 years. We've asked that individual, family or business, whoever owns the property, in this case, the city, is it possible for us to start to negotiate or talk about an easement? So it happens very early on, and if we can avoid certain properties for whatever reason, there's a lot of different reasons we will. In a lot of cases, if the micro routing suggests that the pipeline should be there because there's upstream or downstream constraints that kind of force the route to be in a certain location, then we start to talk about with the landowners. So the landowners actually have many, many touches along the way. It is unfortunate. Not everybody is a fan of the project. We realize that. You're dealing with personal property rights that are very sensitive, and they should be. And so you do reach, unfortunately, an impasse in certain circumstances. And it's those situations where you reach an impasse is why, in the state, there's eminent domain laws in this state as well as in the country to allow the routing and development of utilities to serve the general public. So that's the process we go through. most people. When we went to the PUC hearings, I think we were, yes, sir?
Council, I'm going to just caution us. The topic at hand is the 700 feet times the 25 feet. If I could just encourage us to focus on that, I'd appreciate that. And I think that's the appropriate thing to do in this particular case. Now, whether you want to bring your own personal feelings in terms of how this has been handled and other things like that, I think it's up to you. But I do think we should stay focused on, it says, the ordinance of the city of Sioux Falls approving grant of a pipeline easement. That's our easement, not the rest of South Dakota's.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Karski?
With that in mind, and I do feel for the people that maybe feel they were handled improperly or strong-armed or whatever, our role tonight is to look at what is in front of us. We are granting an easement on city property. I feel our legal staff has done an adequate job, a more than adequate job. And with that in mind, I'm going to move to approve this item.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve item number 8. Has been seconded. Other discussion. Councilor Anderson Jr., sir.
Thank you for still being there, Joey.
Yes, sir.
Just some questions on the pipeline itself. Your sensors, that they monitor pressure within the pipe, I take it?
Yes, sir. We do have sensors that monitor pressure, temperature, flow rates.
What's the distance between those sensors?
It varies.
Okay, we're talking about this easement. So in this easement area, how many sensors are in the area or longer?
Well, we have 9 valves. So the sensors are mostly located at valves or pump stations. So there's 31 valves in the state of South Dakota. And so I'm going to try to...
Joey.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be very specific here, sir. We're talking about 700 feet. That's what I want you to talk about.
So there are no valves on the 700 feet.
That's what Councilor Anderson Jr. asked you. So stay focused on the 700, okay?
Sure. Yes, sir.
So in that pipeline area, how soon would you be able to detect a leak?
So without offending the mayor, I have to expand the discussion because the sensors are upstream and downstream. There's 9 in the Sioux Falls area. So when you notice that there's a pressure differential from valve 1 to valve 2, it takes about 9 or so minutes to affect a sensor going off to the time the valve closes. So that's about the time. And the valve can close within several minutes.
So, you said there was 9 in this area?
Yes, sir.
Valves? So if there was a leak and it was detected, then there's going to be a couple valves closing so that there's no flow in that area anymore, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then what's the life cycle of the pipe that you're going to be putting in?
The pipe is...
We're talking lifetime easements here, so...
Right, and it could be, lifetimes. With the modern technology that we have to protect the pipe from cathodic protection, the pipe, as long as it's maintained properly and you maintain those cathodic protections, the steel can last forever.
If I may, Mayor? Okay. Basically, all of our fuel stations and everything in Sioux Falls that have gas pumps and things like that are double-lined. Are these pipes double-lined or are they single-lined?
No, they're single-line but heavier wall. And I have actually brought somebody because if you want a very technical answer, we have our chief engineer who can answer that, but they're single-walled, designed to withstand the pressures and the rigidity that is necessary for this pipeline.
Okay. And then the one question I just have to go, how long will these pipes last? Just number of years is what I'm looking for.
Again, it could be 100 years, as long as the pipeline is maintained and you maintain the integrity protection, meaning you do not let the pipeline corrode. As long as you're maintaining your corrosion protection, the pipe could literally last for eternity. It has to be maintained. So as soon as you remove that, then you start to get the steel degradation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Anderson Jr., very, very good job. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers,
No.
Anderson,
No.
Erickson, Erfenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Rolfing.
No.
That has passed 4-3. Item. That has failed. Is that right? That has failed 4-3. Councilor Rolfing?
I would like to ask that the council reconsider number 8. The reason I did-
Councilor, there's been a motion to reconsider item number
the pipeline.
number 8. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. There's been a motion to reconsider item 8. Councilor Erickson is going to recuse herself. Councilor Rolfing?
I did not realize when, after Councilor Erickson recused herself, that it would take a vote of 5. My sole point in voting no was basically to make sure that people knew that I've been getting a lot of phone calls, and I think some of the others have too, about the way some people have been treated on this. I agree. We do not have anything to say on that. What we should have been voting on, and I probably made a mistake, is voting on just the 730 feet that we're dealing with. However, these are our neighbors, and if our neighbors are not treated correctly, then someday we may not be treated correctly either. So to make that point, I would like to say I would encourage a yes vote on this, but also make that point that we need to be neighbors on this. The PUC has already done it. Let's go forward and be friends.
This is a motion to reconsider. Councilor Staggs, just one, if you don't mind, sir. Thank you. David, on the motion to reconsider, are we first just voting to reconsider it, or are we voting on the approval of the pipeline?
We would vote first on the motion to reconsider.
Okay. Councilor Staggers, would you mind if we vote on the motion to reconsider, or do you have a question on the reconsideration or on the pipeline?
Well, I guess there's just one comment I'd like to make. I mean, we're a independent city council here. We can make our own decisions. Sometimes people might not like the decisions we make, but at other times they do. So, we got to treat our neighbors nice, and many of those neighbors are happy with that vote we just had.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Councilor Bach.
Just the reconsideration is the right move because we have been involved from the beginning with the PUC hearings, and many of us were at those meetings when those neighbors were there and were able to speak out. We've all been involved in this for a long time. This reconsideration is important. Yes, we're independent, but no, we're not able to go back on our word in terms of the decisions that we've been a part of all along. Vote yes.
A roll call vote, please, on the motion to reconsider.
Councilmember Staggers,
No.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson, Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
The motion to reconsider is passed 6-1. Do I need a new motion on the, yes, I do. Would anybody want to make a motion on?
Move it.
Councilor Rolfing has made a motion to approve item number 8, seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers,
No.
Anderson,
No.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That is passed 5-2. Is there any further discussion on tonight's meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Been a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Make it a great night, Sioux Falls.
Out of here.
Y'all come back now. Here.